Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another week of football. This time we have the Cowboys versus the Giants and the Longhorns versus Mississippi State. So normally I do the Longhorns game first because normally that's the first game of the two. But this time I'm going to do the Cowboys first and then the Longhorns. So Cowboys versus Giants. Cowboys really needed a win badly here. They just came off of two awful losses against the Saints and Ravens. And luckily, we had the Giants lined up next, though I was a little concerned because it's a Thursday night game, meaning we only had 4 days of rest. But we still managed to do what we do to the Giants. I think the stat was like 14 out of the last 15 games we won. Yeah, this rivalry's been lopsided for a little while. But we got the job done against the Giants. But that doesn't mean I'm really happy or anything, because that game was way closer than it had any right to be. It was like still... Giants were still in the game late into it, you know? Like, the score was not, like, lopsided to the Cowboys. And that's really concerning because it's the Giants. The Giants aren't very good this year. But I guess I'll start with the first quarter, and I'll be quick because, I'm going to be honest with you, I didn't really watch the first quarter because I had a club meeting that I had to go to that day because it was a Thursday, not a Sunday. So I mostly just kind of, like, had my phone on with the game and like kept it to the side while I was doing other things. But from what I saw whenever I glanced there, there was a lot of yellow on the score bug every time I looked over there. There's a lot of penalties, so many penalties, and that's really frustrating because the Cowboys have had this issue with penalties for like so many years now, and I don't understand why we haven't been able to fix it. I don't understand why McCarthy hasn't taking care of this discipline issue. It's so frustrating. But moving on from that, the offense did pretty good, all things considered. CD Lamb got a touchdown. That was nice. We got the touchdown. We scored a lot. And then the defense was the one that was really improving today. And granted, again, it's the Giants, so maybe it's just more likely that the Giants aren't very good. But like, unlike the last two games where whenever we were in the red zone, we just completely collapsed, this time we didn't really do that. We held our ground in the red zone. We had them settle for field goals. And like, I think the Giants only scored field goals. Maybe Malik Neighbors got a touchdown in there, but I'm pretty sure it was mostly just field goals for the Giants. But like, yeah, even despite those praises, it's still really concerning that the Giants were never out of it. It was always like a close, like a 1 or 2 score game, no matter what. And that's really concerning because it's the Giants, so we should be not having them still be in it. But yeah, at the end of the day, we did get the win, and that's good. Hopefully that builds up some of our confidence going into the Steelers game. And then, cause like, oh god, this next stretch here is going to be difficult. It's going to be Steelers, which is a tough game, Lions, which is an even tougher game because A, they're better than the Steelers, and B, the Lions really want revenge from us winning on that bogus call last year. So that's going to be scary. And then there's the bye week, and then we have to face the Niners in primetime again, which, why? Ugh. Like, yeah, schedule is looking rough, so this win was important, and we definitely needed it. I guess one last thing I want to say before I move on here is the Aubrey kick. A lot of people are really angry about the Aubrey kick, but I'm just going to say it. No, it's not rigging garbage. It's McCarthy being bad at clock management. They had a timeout. They could have had the play clock go down to 1 and then take the timeout, then have the special teams get like set and prepared for the kick. But no, they just brought them on there, and they were letting the clock run and not taking a timeout, and then everyone wasn't set when they were ready to be set, and then they did the kick, and Aubrey was still like practicing stuff, but they did the kick anyway, and then they did to her quickly, and Aubrey missed the kick. That's what happened. It's what's more likely, a field goal being rigged for like Vegas or whatever, or McCarthy being an idiot. I know which one I'm betting on. Like, yeah, that was the Cowboys-Giants game. Moving on to I guess talk about the rest of professional football, if I'm starting with the Cowboys first here. Minnesota Green Bay. That was an interesting game because Minnesota was blowing out the first half, and then Green Bay was slowly getting back in, but they didn't end up winning despite the Vikings trying to hand it to them so many times. Definitely an interesting game. Chiefs, Chargers. Chargers put in a good fight, but unfortunately, Kansas City still has main character energy. Like they got an interception, ran with it, fell down, and then the ball fumbled out of their hands, and Kansas City got it back. And granted, luckily that was overturned, but like that just goes to show, everything bounces Kansas City, and it's annoying. So the game after that, Buffalo Bills Ravens. I didn't really watch this one because I had a lot of homework, but I will tell you a story here. So Derrick Henry had a big, massive run for like 80-something yards and a touchdown. It was crazy. It was awesome. And I'm really mad because I was facing Derrick Henry in fantasy that week, and that touchdown probably lost me this week, and I'm really upset about that, which sucks because, you know, Derrick Henry rumbling off for 80 yards and a touchdown is awesome. It's so cool. But it doesn't help me, and I'm mad. And I guess that's pretty much everything I watched for professional football. I didn't really watch Monday night, though apparently I should have watched Seahawks Lions because that was apparently a really good game. But yeah, that's all I really have to say about professional. Let's move on to the Longhorns. Longhorns, this is certainly not what I mean, we did end up winning by a lot, but it was way more nerve-wracking than it needed to be. So we were up by like 13. We were up 13-6 at the half, and the only reason it was 13-6, not like 7-6, is because Arch threw a dart to the end zone at the last second of the half. So that should indicate to you that we had another slow start. What's with the Longhorns and these slow starts? I'm starting to think it's not just me being paranoid at the beginning of the game. It's actually a thing with the Longhorns. But after that, we kind of got things back together. We slowly got back out in front, and we were in front the entire time, but, you know, started like having it be out of reach for Mississippi State. It was like 28-6, 28-13 or something like that by the end of the game. And just like, it's Mississippi State. It's not exactly the most crazy opening game in the SEC itself, but it's a game you have to win. You have to win these. You have to prepare for these games. You have to win these games. You can't look past Mississippi State over past the bye week into Oklahoma. You have to play the game in front of you, and we did that mostly, and I'm happy with that. And like, oh boy, but like with that said, we got a bye week next week, which is great because after that, it's Red River, and that's a huge game. That's a really huge game. Texas has this thing where they can't win against Oklahoma in years where it matters. When it doesn't matter and we're already out of the conference race or whatever, we can beat them. But when we really need to beat them, we don't. Look at last year. We really needed that win against Oklahoma, and we didn't get it. And granted, that game was awesome. That was a fantastic game, results aside. But like, we needed that win and we didn't get it. The year before, we were already kind of out of it. We were like 4-5 or 4-2 or like 2-4 or whatever. And we were already out of it. And then we bowled them out 49-0. So yeah, Red River, like it is pretty much every year, it's going to be a big, exciting game that you're going to want it marked on your calendars. I'm looking forward to it. And hopefully the Longhorns come out on top of that one. All right, so now I'll move on to everything else in college football. First off, I watched the first half of the Michigan game, the little jug. Minnesota were dominated 28-0 or something like that at the end of the half, and I'm like, okay, yeah, this is out of hand. And so I went to go do my homework, and then I came back and like saw the post game like recaps and stuff. Apparently, Minnesota came back and only lost on a BS call. So, yeah, I should have learned my lesson not to immediately dismiss games that are blowouts at the half from that. But foreshadowing, I did not learn that. Next game I watched that wasn't the Longhorns Mississippi State game was Notre Dame Louisville. This was an embarrassing, awful game last year for Notre Dame. They just looked so sad and terrible. And this game, really interesting. It was, the first quarter was just chaos. Like, Notre Dame fumbles the ball on the kickoff and then let Louisville get a touchdown. Then they score. Then Louisville fumbles themselves, and then Notre Dame scores. Now they're up. And then, it's sort of this back and forth. And then Riley Leonard actually scores a passing touchdown, which is crazy to me because he's looked terrible in the passing game all year. And it was just sort of this knockout, drag out sort of game, like sometimes scoring, but mostly just defensive. And eventually Notre Dame did win. So, yay, they have a win over a ranked opponent, but I still think maybe now they do deserve to be ranked, considering that they won every game since that game against Northern Illinois. But I still don't think they belong in the playoffs. They do not belong in the playoffs. Again, ranked, maybe. Playoffs, no. So, yeah, that was the Notre Dame Louisville. And before I leave it, I just want to say, oh my God, Peacock, your stream quality is so bad. It's so bad. Like, we have all these awesome wide shots of the crowd at Notre Dame, and it looks terrible because it's all fuzzy and you can't see individual details. It's Anyway, so the game after that was the big game. Well, actually, no, I'm not going to talk about the big game. I'm going to talk about the little game. Illinois Penn State. That was a so I'll talk about it when I get to the other big game I'm talking about was a blowout at the start, and I'll talk about that later. But after that happened, I sort of started paying attention more to the Illinois Penn State game, which was a closer game throughout the contest. But in the end, it was like 21-7 Penn State. They did pull away out there. So yeah, that was also a game I watched. But the big game I want to talk about is Georgia-Alabama. Oh my God, what a game. That was a crazy game. So, Alabama, for the first half, they dominated. It was like 28-6 at one point. It looked so Jover for Georgia. It was really bad. Third quarter passed by, and yeah, Georgia scored a point, but it was still very much in Alabama's control. Then the fourth quarter happens. This fourth quarter was crazy. Georgia slowly getting back. Slowly getting back. Oh, hey, they're now like it's a 2-score game. Oh my God, Alabama muffs it, and now they got to play very, very deep into their own territory, and eventually they have to punch it. And then immediately afterwards, Georgia scores a long touchdown where like the wide receiver's just juking every defender, and it's going crazy. That was crazy. And how does Alabama respond? Chucking it to the 17-year-old, and he scores a touchdown in one play. Like, this game was, wow, game of the year so far material. It was crazy. And then Georgia, got the ball back slowly, marching their way downfield, getting in the red zone, getting so close to going back on top, and then it's intercepted. Just what a crazy game! What an awesome game! That was a fantastic game. I wish I didn't dismiss it at the half point like I did, because I made that mistake again after the Little Jug game, and I want to apologize for that because that was what a game. All right, so that kind of does it here for this talk about football. Next week, like I said, Longhorns are on their bye, but the Cowboys are playing the Steelers. The good old 70s rivalry revived, and hopefully the Cowboys can actually come out on top there, though the Steelers look like they're going to be above 500. I don't know. But I'm still rooting for them, And with that said, thank you for watching. Be sure to subscribe. And until next time, bye.